Hey, it's Kingstown Ferrets here again. It's been a while since we've given you an update, so let's run through what's happened in the Ferretry and what's happening with the babies. So let's get started. Now we're going to start with the Ferretry this week, and as you may have picked up in our other videos, we had some very bad news over the last couple of weeks. Firstly, one of our long-timers, Sandy, unfortunately she's passed away. So we'd noticed Sandy had been struggling to go to the toilet for a while, and we took her into the vets, and they gave her a good examination and found quite a large mass in her stomach. They'd given her a scan and identified it as a tumour, and it was attached to the bladder, which meant that it was constricting her bladder opening, which meant it was very hard for her to pass any urine. Unfortunately, it was in apparently an extremely difficult place to operate on, and so it was effectively an inoperable tumour, and so the vet said that she's in quite a severe risk of rupturing the bladder, which would lead to significant pain and a bit of an agonising death. So we had the unfortunate decision to have her put to sleep there and then. So that was a bit of a shock, and it came on pretty sudden. And we do have a memoriam video, which is linked above, which just shows Sandy throughout her 6 years of life here at Kingstown Ferrets. Now that wasn't the only bit of bad news, because Muffin here, who was Sandy's brother from the same litter, we'd noticed that he had started to develop some lumps in different places around his body. And so we took him to the vets, and the vets decided that he had an enlarged spleen, and also it was his lymph nodes that were all swollen. They gave him a course of antibiotics. Didn't resolve the problem, so in subsequent visits they had diagnosed him with lymphoma. So that's a terminal disease with a relatively short prognosis, but he is on prednisolone to hopefully reduce the speed at which lymphoma grows and spreads throughout the body. And hopefully Muffin will have a good few months left, but we will see, because it is quite an aggressive disease, and they can turn a corner pretty quickly. So rather unfortunate for Muffin. He is quite sprightly and happy at the moment. Well, a little bit sleepy at the moment, but he is quite sprightly still. But the lumps are definitely there. You can feel them in certain places. Elsewhere in the Ferretry, we've got Binky here, who had a phantom pregnancy earlier on in the season, and then she came back into season, and she was mated with by one of our hobs, which was not in season. So again, she is back having another phantom. So she's going through all the processes of a proper pregnancy, getting nice and chunky, and the teats showing. But again, for the second time, she'll be having no babies. This is, however, a very natural process, and it is how we manage the gills coming in and out of season throughout the year. Everything else with the different ferrets around the Ferretry is pretty much same old, same old. Jelly's getting herself into trouble as usual. Beans just chill all the time. And generally speaking, the ferrets just chill out a lot in the warmer summer climate. Outside, their grove area is looking crazy lush and exciting to dig and snuffle through for the ferrets. And Rumble is his usual randy, stinky self. Hey, Rumble. You all coming to see me? Hello. Hello, everyone. Where are you going? Biscotti? Got to go through the door. There we go. Okay, we're in the nursery now, and let's have a quick look at how our babies are getting on. So as you know, we have two different litters here. We have Mushroom's litter, which are coming up for 8 weeks old, and these are the Angoras, fluffy as anything and pretty chunky little monsters at the moment. And then we have Cookie's litter, which are these four here. And again, they're also growing lovely chunky little kits. They are a week younger, so they are still, as you'd expect, a little bit smaller than the others. Here we've got the boy from the older litter and the boy from the younger litter. You can see 1 week's difference in size. But they now live together as one big commune, really, and all playing together, which they absolutely love each other. They all live in this one big nursery because we open up the booth by this little door hatch here, and they all play together. This closes or opens, and the mum's totally fine with it, and they all sleep together and they sort of share motherhood between the two sets of kits. But in the evening we do shut that door, and we put the kits with their respective mum, and it gives them that sort of one-to-one parent and child bonding without all the others getting in the way. But having mums which were good friends to start with, and having kits so close in age, it's quite wonderful to have them all growing up and playing together. Even that little 1 week age difference is not enough to spoil the fun. These guys are at a bit of an adorable age. They're pretty cute, but they love to test everything with their mouths, so they will bite and nip everything. But the nip training is all about just getting them used to hands, and over time they just get used to the fact that they can play with a finger, but they're not necessarily going to bite it with any sense of urgency. Hey, what about noses? Yeah, not sure about noses. What about beards? This is Biscotti, and she has quite a thing for my beard, don't you? But she is cute as a button, aren't you, little Bisco? They spend all their time racing around, chewing everything, battling between each other. Look, there's a good example of one from each litter, the older one and the younger one, but playing perfectly well together, as they do. And they love to battle at this age. Everything is about play fighting. It's their favourite little game. But they are also eating me out of house and home. You only just had your breakfast and you're looking for more meat as it is. So we'll get their lunch soon. A little macaroo. Macaroo. More play fighting over there. Play fighting over here. Play fighting all day long. So as usual, let's get on to a few of your questions. Crazy Ferret 76 asks, how often do you feed offal, and can you include it as part of their daily diet? I use liver, but I understand hearts and tongues are better. Well, yes, you can, and indeed you should feed offal. That is, unless it's already built into part of your diet that you provide to your ferrets. Offal is where they get a lot of their vitamins from. Without a good supply of liver, they will be quite deficient in vitamin E. And hearts and other offal can add to that and provide a more rounded vitamin and mineral intake. So it isn't particularly the case that one is better than the other, although if it was one that you could not live without, it would be liver, because that is where they will get their vitamin E. Hearts and tongues should be considered as additional with their own benefits, but not in place of liver. Tempy Teacup asked, how do they cope with the summer heat? Where I live in the US, the weather is only ferret friendly for a few weeks of the year, and we have a lot of hawks, so they're mostly indoor pets with a few leashed outdoor excursions. So it's not a surprise that it's too hot in many places in the US. Ferrets are native to Europe, so they're perfectly well suited to deal with the UK weather. Although it can get very hot here on occasions, and they don't deal with heat at all that well, and so it's important that you have a setup which can mitigate some of that heat, whether that's the use of insulation that reflects the heat, or whether it's the use of fans, or whether you add cooling bottles and water and ice cubes and things on hot days. But ultimately, yes, our ferrets all live outdoor every day of the year, as is majority of the case for ferrets living in the UK. Mo Liao asks, I'm curious about your decision not to breed Binky again after her phantom pregnancy. Would it be too much stress for her? Well, it wasn't really the stress for Binky that was the situation. Ferrets go through phantom all the time, and as we just mentioned earlier in this video, it is a valid way of managing the season for ferrets which are not surgically neutered. So going in and out of phantom pregnancy a few times a year can be a relatively normal thing. And that is how it would happen if they were being mated with a vasectomized hob. But we made the decision not to try and breed Binky again in order to produce babies. It's because we are a very small ferretry, and I just want to have babies in the spring, and then it's all done and dusted by the summer. I don't want it to stretch out over the whole summer. So that is the reason why we didn't breed Binky. If the ferrets fail and have a phantom, then that is it for us. We'll wait until the next year. Jason Hurley 829 asks, I've tried, but I can't find a vasectomized hob anywhere near me. What should I do? So you should always ask around, as you probably are doing, but a great way is to look on Facebook. There is a group called the Jill Service, and that's a great resource where people post and ask if there's any vasectomized hobs in the areas, and people with a vasectomized hob will post their availability and where they are. So it's a good sort of matchmaking service effectively for Jills that are in season and people looking for vasectomized hobs. So do check that out. It is just UK based at the moment, but it is a very useful tool, and it serves many numbers of people throughout the year. Jeb 10525 asks, what's your view on putting ill ferrets down? Do you put them to sleep or spoil them to the end? Well, this is an extremely personal decision, and we couldn't possibly say what the right thing to do is, but in our most recent situation with Sandy, we got to a situation where it was believed by the vet, and I agreed that it would not be fair on Sandy to keep her living with her condition any longer, so we did make the choice to put her to sleep. We could have perhaps gone with surgery, and with her age and the complication of where it was, it would have made it a very low prognosis. It might have kept her alive, but again, it would have been in significant pain and with other complications most likely. So I understand people who do everything they can, just as they would with a human, to keep them going until the end. But in this situation, we made the decision to put to sleep. But again, each situation is different, and we don't have a strong view as to what you should do or shouldn't do. It's a very personal decision. Well, that's it for this week's update. I hope you found it interesting, and as always, do put your questions for next update in the comments below, and do like and subscribe to support this channel, and we'll see you next time.